What's good, my ghouls and goblins? Welcome back. Welcome home to Reely Scared, your live streaming horror movie podcast, the one in which every single week we are joined by a special guest to discuss one horror genre film of their choosing. My name is Taylor, as always, joined by the fabulous, the immortal top goblin, Connor Breedlove. How you doing, Connor?
Not feeling too immortal.
No, what's going on? What's good in your life lately?
Oh, it's been a long week. It's been a week straight of work. Feeling pretty beat up.
Feel pretty beat up. I hate to hear that. I hope tonight we can bring some light and some glory to your week.
I really hope so. That would be fantastic.
I think we might be able to pull it off. We've got a great show going tonight. We're going to be joined by our special guest. My favorite ghoul herself, Jessika, will be joining us momentarily, any moment now. She will be joining the show to discuss one of her favorite scary movies, which is James Wan's Conjuring. She'll be in a couple minutes here. We'll bring her on and we'll get this damn thing started. In the meantime, thought, hey, why don't the top goblin and I just kind of shoot it in here, man? It's been a bit since it's just been you and I, you know?
Yeah.
You know, we don't get so much alone time in 2021.
Not really.
I've missed you.
I've missed you too.
And I missed the ability to ask you this golden question, Connor. Which
God.
What have you been watching lately?
That's a loaded question.
Oh no.
Let's see. Thank God I have Letterboxd. I can just find. I log literally anytime I'm done watching something. I just log it.
Yeah, you got it.
Recently I went into like a weird Will Ferrell dive. So I watched like Talladega Nights, Step Brothers, and Blades of Glory.
I feel like I'm starting to look like Will Ferrell in Blades of Glory. I caught like a side profile in the mirror the other day.
You are looking a little bit like Chaz Michael Myers.
I got this long hair going. I'm starting to cut a Chaz Michaels figure.
Michael Michaels. Yeah, that's what it was.
I feel like I look like he does when he's like barfing on himself in the mascot helmet. I feel like that's me when I wake up.
By the way, I really enjoy it. I forgot how much I enjoyed it. It's really funny.
Not a lot of John Heater action these days.
No, it's a shame. I also rewatched Palm Springs with the old lady.
Still need to watch that.
It's so good, so good. I'm glad it's seeing some awards attention at the Golden Globes, and being nominated, and the film itself being nominated. That's really, really cool because it's a fantastic movie. It's so good.
I gotta give that a shot here finally.
And then I let's see what else. What else did I watch? Save Yourselves.
So you watch that. That's the movie with
it just hit Hulu.
The alien invasion, right?
Yeah, with the floofs.
Little blobby fellas, something like that.
It is surprisingly really good. I was like going into it kind of tempered expectations, didn't know what I was going to get. It was really good. And I like the main guy in it. What's his name? Let me pull it up. John Reynolds. He's in Search Party, which just had its 4th season on HBO Max. He's fantastic. He's really funny. Love the show. Love the movie. And they're actually making a series out of it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's what I've been watching.
So you've been watching. You know what I watched recently?
What did you watch?
Have you not seen Psycho Goreman yet?
I haven't seen Psycho Goreman. I need to.
Oh my God. In the old format, I'm pretty confident we would have already done a Psycho Goreman episode.
Yes.
It would have been necessary. Like we talked about it quite a bit throughout the last year. You could finally catch it on VOD. I know it's coming to Shudder in a few months in May. And like I know some people would be inclined to just wait to watch it on Shudder, but I'm telling you, I got it for like a $5 rental. of whoever you rent from. It's like not even a huge price. It is worth every dime. If you watch the trailer for Psycho Goreman and you think like, I know exactly what I hope this movie is, it is that. It's fantastic. Like super funny, probably the funniest like new movie I've watched in a long time. It's got like the production value of like Power Rangers or Super Sentai, where everybody's wearing like clearly like styrofoam costumes and things like that. Kind of also remind me of like Bill and Ted, and then like just has the most like sassy like sociopathic little child at the center of it. She's like unbearable, but on purpose, so it works. And oh my god, I don't know who plays Psycho Goreman. Forgive me, but he's fucking terrific.
I see the still of him dressed as a cowboy all the time. Like I see it on my timeline, and I'm like, I need to see this movie.
You know what's great? It's not even that he's dressed like a cowboy per se. He's dressed exactly like Alan Grant from Jurassic Park.
Oh my god!
And nobody ever says it. There's like, no, it's never said like, well, you're dressed like Alan Grant. Like they just dress him up verbatim in the same outfit from Jurassic Park, and no one.
Is that what it is? It's Alan Grant.
Yeah, same shirt, bandana, hat, like it's literally the same outfit. And for just he wears that for like the entire second act of the movie. Oh my God. I guess it's just like because he's begrudgingly hanging out with these kids, and it's great. Like he doesn't want to. Like they're like playing. He has to listen to the girl because she has like his super amulet. Like he's just walking around like vocally plotting their murder and like the conquest of the earth, but he can't do anything, so he has to play like basketball with them and stuff. It's so funny. It's like I would say Power Rangers meets Gwar was the comparison I made.
Oh my God.
And through the lens of a horror movie, a rated R horror movie. It's terrific. But probably my favorite 2021 movie I've watched so far. I know we're only a month in, but Psycho Goreman is like a 4-star journey.
I need to see that.
Can't recommend
something else we both watched. The Little Things.
You did watch those little things. What'd you think of that?
I liked it. I know a lot of people are pretty sour on it, but I really liked it. It felt like it was one of those like films that came out in like the 90s, like crime thriller wave, like the mid 90s, when you were getting a crime thriller pretty much every week.
Right.
It felt like it was literally just like plucked from there and dropped in, like time traveled to 2021. I liked it. I thought Denzel was great. I thought Rami was great. And I thought Jared Leto was exceptionally creepy.
He was Jared Leto.
Yeah, he was Jared Leto being Jared Leto. It was very creepy, but I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it okay. You know, it's one of those things where like I think it might be empowered a bit by doing the HBO Max thing. You know, like I think a lot of people will see this, but that otherwise never would have. Even COVID notwithstanding, like it seems like it's suited to just watching it at home. You know, I thought it was okay. And although Rami, I just can't buy Rami as a cop. I just couldn't buy it.
You didn't buy it.
I like Rami's an amazing actor and he does have good range, but I just like I couldn't figure out. I couldn't like navigate him being as like an authority figure or like cool and clever. Like it's like, no, I'm sorry. I've watched Mr. Robot too many times. I can't.
Yeah.
I like and Freddie Mercury pretty different than Elliot Alderson, like in character and performance, but I just still couldn't like. It's like I just can't buy him as a cop, you know. I need to see him having a nervous breakdown in the corner.
That's the thing, because I did just finish Mr. Robot for the 4th time. With Liv. It was her first time watching it at all, but it was my 4th time watching it all the way through, and that kind of did like affect how I saw him in the movie, because I was like, yeah, you should be hacking a global conglomerate somewhere.
Yeah, I just couldn't see him being the guy who like walks in, like sits down at the diner and is like, "Let me tell you how it is, sucker." Like that's just I don't know. It's just not how I see him. I love Rami. That was the only it stuck out for me. But no, I dug it all right. You know, I would say it was like a fine like 3 out of 5 type movie. You know?
Yeah, that's why I gave it on Letterboxd was 3.
Yeah. Don't regret watching it. Will I revisit it? I don't know. Probably not. But it was fine for a one-time watch. There's some interesting twists and things like that in it, right? Yeah. Well, if you heard the boop, all right. If you know your StreamYard noises, you know that somebody has joined us tonight. And we gotta get our plugs in, and we certainly will. But I don't see any reason we can't plug away with our guest on screen. She's no stranger to the show. Welcoming back my favorite ghoul. Everyone, ghouls and goblins, put your hands and claws and flippers together for Jessika.
Hey, guys.
I'm sorry. Why does this happen every week?
Oh, man, I didn't throw mine on. That's so embarrassing. I got the cheddar goblin rocking. You guys are wearing a Wretched Apparel, and I'm so glad you are, because do you know what one of the best ways to support this show is?
To go to retroapparel.com and use our promo code, Reely Scared, to save 10% on your order.
10% off items like, I don't know, the Slasher hoodie, as seen by the top goblin of my favorite ghoul, or perhaps even the Damned hoodie. It's cold out here. It's cold out here. It's chilly. Tough breeze kicking up. You might get cold. Put on a nice little hoodie. Hey, but don't worry, wretchedapparel.com's got you covered on the t-shirts too. Look at that. You get 10% off anything in the Wretched Apparel store by using our promo code. Reely Scared, all one word, supports this show, which you love. I hope you love it. Supports a great new small business making high-quality horror-inspired apparel. And you save a little money, save 10% off. So you get a little coin in your pocket. Spend on what you want. Maybe you can get a rental of Psycho Goreman. I recommend it tremendously. Wretchedapparel.com. Reely Scared, all one word, promo code, 10% off at checkout. Obviously, if you're watching this, you're familiar with some sort of platform that we're on, whether it be YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook, streaming live every Thursday at 8 p.m. So if you haven't already, please go ahead, subscribe, follow, like it, whatever the hell you do on that platform. And if you're listening to us in audio, in the podcast format,
leave a little cutie.
What I want you to do is go leave a little cutie. Just go down. I don't know. I think they all let you leave reviews. They let you all rate at the least. So go ahead, leave a little rating. And if you really like the show, go on down and leave a little cutie. It's a little review. Nothing too big, nothing too extravagant. Just leave a little cutie and let us know how you feel. And I'll read it out on the show. I'll read it on the show. And those are the best ways to support the show. That's it.
Watch us on Twitch. Follow us on Twitch. Watch us on Twitch.
Follow us on Twitch. Connor's going to play a really ridiculous game sometime soon. So go follow us on Twitch. Yeah. We got some gold over there. Oh, man. We got a big movie to talk about tonight, and I can't wait to talk about it. Although now that you're here, Jessika, I almost want to first ask you, because I know you love talking about this. What have you been watching lately?
Gosh, we watched so many movies. So today I watched both Conjurings, and then I watched The Mummy.
Which mummy?
Yeah, which one?
With Brandon Fraser.
Okay, that's the correct answer. Thank you.
I like the Tom Cruise one. I'm like the only person that likes the Tom Cruise one.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know. We watched The Little Things.
Yeah.
This past weekend. I enjoyed it until the ending. What else did we watch? We watched all the Austin Power movies.
Yeah, we watched all of them.
Is that because of the mention I had of when the steamroller is coming in? And he just,
you know what? I would love to even say it was my idea, but this was a Jessika original move.
Oh, wow.
You've never seen any of them.
I haven't seen them, so. Oh, well, I hadn't seen them, and we were watching Hulu, and I was like, why don't we just watch something funny like Austin Powers?
Yeah. So I grew up a complete Austin Powers kid.
Yeah.
If that's a thing you could be, I was that thing.
I had Gold Member. My grandpa had Gold Member on VHS, and I would beg him to just keep rewinding the VHS anytime it ended.
I was I wasn't allowed to watch it. Certainly wasn't allowed to have it. But I had those friends who had the cooler parents, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So I'd go over there and play GTA and watch Austin Powers. Dude, let me tell you how This is a tangent. I apologize. Let me to express to you how into Austin Powers, specifically The Spy Who Shagged Me, I was. I had a little tape recorder. I call it a Talk Boy. I don't know if you've seen those. There was a Talk Girl too, which I think was a little more popular. But I got a Talk Boy at the garage sale. And I went to his house and we watched Spy Who Shagged Me. And I put the tape recorder next to the movie playing on his TV and recorded the sound of it. And this is like cassette tape, so also I had to stop, flip the tape, go the other side, and then I came home and I would just listen to the audio of the Spy Who Shagged Me. I listened to it like going to bed, like an audio book. What a fucking menace I was as a child.
Oh my gosh!
And as an adult, I gotta tell you, Spy Who Shagged Me doesn't hold up quite as well, but I can't be mad at it. First one definitely.
Oh, you don't like Fat Bastard?
It's funny what you think is the funniest thing in the world when you're 8 years old and you watch it back as an adult and it's just like, oh, he's fat. Like it just like, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't hit the same anymore. Like,
did you find that funny, Jessica?
I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like throughout the whole entire movie, all of them, because like I realized that he was playing different characters in the movies. Yeah. But if Taylor's like, oh, I love this movie when I was growing up. Oh, it's so funny. I'm like, let's watch it. Let's watch it. Because for some reason, it is so hard to get Taylor to laugh during movies. It is.
Oh, no.
Oh, did we lose it?
Then I'm going to watch it. So but I thought it was like some funny parts, but a lot of the time I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, there was a lot of like, why are his teeth so messed up? Why does his chest hair look like that? Like, what are these characters doing?
I also watched It Follows. It was Liv's first time watching It Follows. I hope someone picks that comes on here because I can talk about that movie for hours. Love that movie. Gets better every time.
I'm sure it's inevitable. You can't have a horror movie that good and somebody's not going to come on here and pick it up one day. So I'm sure it's inevitable. How did she like it?
She really liked it. She was even pointing out like things in the background, like, is that it?
Yeah. God, that movie, you make me want to rewatch that already because it is the paranoia factor of that movie is so good.
Yeah, especially in the high school when they go to try to like investigate, it's just like panning like a 360 constantly while they're like investigating, and then you just see someone in the background walking and you're like, oh.
Yeah. You never get comfortable. It's just like the constant anxiety of like any moment the horror movie could kick back in at any time. You never know who the fuck is going to walk in and mix it up with them. Yeah, that movie. Somebody's going to pick that movie. No doubt.
I hope so. I will not.
No, have you watched any of that before, Jessica? It Follows?
No, I don't even know what that is.
You should. That's a movie you guys need to watch together.
I don't know. From what you're describing, it kind of reminds me of what I felt during The Shining. I don't know if I want to feel that.
It is constant dread. It is an hour, 45 minutes of just pure dread.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's pretty unrelenting in the same way. That's actually a pretty good comparison. We should totally watch that sometime.
I don't know.
I'm surprised your reaction to The Shining. I'm surprised you picked this movie because I was watching this in bed last night, The Conjuring, and I had covers like this movie still scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, I still jump when I watch it. I've watched it so many times.
Me too. And I was sweating, covered.
Oh my gosh, me too.
I was like, oh my God, like this movie is so scary.
Connor, can you share real quick your Twitter reaction when you're watching this movie? What did you say?
I tweeted, The Conjuring still makes my asshole sweat.
There it is. I think there's no better way to hop into this. The Conjuring is our movie tonight. The cinematic universe starter, released in 2013, directed by the incredible, the legendary James Wan. Of course, also created Saw and the Insidious franchise, and is now moving on to Malignant. Can't wait to watch that later this year.
Which is described as like a giallo movie.
Yeah, so it's kind of a different beat for him. This is a guy who kind of spins gold within the studio horror atmosphere. Big movie to talk about tonight. I'm really excited about it. But we can't do that. We always got to start things off by asking our special guest, who, of course, is the favorite ghoul returning. So happy to have her back tonight. Jessica, when asked to pick a horror movie, why did you pick The Conjuring?
It's so funny. I was talking to my brother.
Thank you.
I was talking to my brother, and he was like, I thought you used to like horror movies. I thought you loved them. And I was like, you know what? You're right. When I was a teen, I enjoyed them a lot. But as I got older, I got something called anxiety. And so nothing feeds into that at the worst extent than horror movies does. But The Conjuring was probably the first movie I watched as an adult where I thoroughly enjoyed, even though it scared the shit out of me. It still gave me that like feel good and emotions that I look for in other movies. Like I cry at the end of these movies every single time I watch them because of the emotion I feel. So it scares the shit out of me and makes me feel good. And they're just really well done. The first one to the second one, they add more layers to it in the second one. And it's just it's so well done. I love it.
Had you seen this in the theater when it came out, or did you discover it a little bit later?
A little bit later. I don't do well with horror movies. If I'm in the theater, I'm putting my feet up and I'm screaming and making excuses to go to the bathroom if I have to. But I don't.
That's literally true.
Happened during the crawl. It'll probably happen over and over again if we keep going to them. But I love it. I think it's one of those movies that I'm just going to keep on watching over and over again. And I'm so fucking excited for the third one to come out. I've been waiting for it to come out. And I'm still fucking pissed we don't have a trailer yet. But okay.
I should say, to kind of pull back the curtain, Really Scared, which you've obviously, Jessica, you've seen like grow. It's like a little nugget of an idea and become what it is. You've always been sort of behind the scenes and in the corner of the show. You like week after week, you would be like, when are you going to talk about The Conjuring? Like, I'm so excited for the third one. Why won't you guys just talk about The Conjuring? And I was like, well, we want to wait until like news comes out about the third one. We do the news segments and we want to wait until there's something to talk about. And I'm glad we just went this direction instead, because to this moment, we still really would have nothing to talk about. The Conjuring, the new one.
I think there will be a trailer this Sunday.
That's kind of what Taylor was saying too.
I was telling her
Sunday, I guarantee Conjuring 3 will see a trailer.
I was telling her, I bet you, with how this has worked out, as soon as we record an episode about The Conjuring, they're going to be like, okay, here comes the poster, here comes the trailer, here comes the plot synopsis. Like, here's everything that you would have talked about on your Conjuring episode now that you waited the entire life of the show to get to it.
We do have a viewer question.
What is scary for you? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
By all means.
No, you go ahead.
Aaron!
Jessica, read the question now.
What is scarier for you, paranormal movies or those with in-person killers?
So I'm assuming like slashers. I would say slashers for me are scarier.
I think it's tough because like when it's a person, obviously it plays it closer to reality and it's a little, you can like more easily place yourself in it. But I think like fear of the unknown is what gets me the worst, and like not understanding what's happening. Because then I can't find my bearings in the movie. It's like I can't place myself in it, and it's like I don't know what the rules are. I'm just
I guess you're right, because now that you're explaining that, like, because some of my favorite movies are slashers, but then I'm thinking about Evil Dead and The Conjuring and other things like like how do you beat something paranormal?
Yeah, if something's
like I thought about like something that can actually kill you is scarier.
Mm-hmm.
So like a slasher, someone breaking in your house and stalking you and coming at you with a knife is very scary because it's real. But if you're actually in there, like how do you actually beat like a deadite or someone possessing your mother trying to kill you? So
if something was
paranormal.
Yeah, if something was to get into like my psyche and like control me, like I think that would scare the shit out of me more.
Yeah.
So I definitely think like paranormal activities scare me more than slasher films, even though I just won't watch slasher films.
Yeah, you're not a fan of those either.
Oh no.
I can say, like, as I sit here, much more scared of a person murdering me with a weapon. But if a ghost shows up, that's probably the scariest thing I've ever seen. So I don't know how I would deal with that situation.
Yeah.
And then, you know what? That feels like a great place to come in on The Conjuring, because what makes this movie so sort of different, especially from what we've talked about thus far, is it definitely in horror, it has the weird distinction of being based on a true story. Now, obviously, that's a very, based on a true story are very loaded words in any context of screenplay and film, especially with this, which is dealing with supernatural elements. But I would love to kind of hear just off the bat, before we even get in the movie, with this being pulled allegedly from reality, would you guys believe in ghosts or the paranormal at all?
I don't know.
I don't know, because I don't want to get into religion, but like I'm not very religious, so like how can I believe in that stuff if I'm not religious? But at the same time, who knows? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I believe in aliens because it's not feasible to believe that we're the only ones in the universe.
Sure.
So.
And you've been abducted by aliens.
What's that?
And you've been abducted by aliens too.
Yes, absolutely.
You've been probed.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's happened before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'll keep an open mind. I've never experienced paranormal activity, but
go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's all I had to say. Who knows?
Yeah. I've actually never really I've never asked myself that question watching these movies. I've always just viewed them as entertainment, kind of, even though I know that they're like based on true story, and Ed and Lorraine are real people, the Perrin family, it's like real people and stuff like that. But I've always looked at it as everything's dramatized and it's made bigger than it actually is. So I just looked at it more of like just another movie that's being made to entertain people. But I'm a big true crime person, so I love things that are based on true stories and that like follow families around and dives deeper into what's actually happening. But I just I'm not a big religious person. I'm more of a spiritual person, so I don't know if I would necessarily believe in the whole like demon and God part of it, I guess.
Right, because this plays it very like overtly towards Catholicism.
Yeah. It's so funny you bring that question up, because that was one of the first, and I love the title sequence. Rolls up and then the title, and then it gets based on a true story. When that came up, I was like, I want to believe in this, but also I just don't believe in God.
I definitely don't specifically believe, like I sit down and watch this movie and I'm like, this is what happened. I'm definitely not taking that stance. And I know, obviously we'll probably talk about the Warrens kind of throughout, again, because it's such a strange distinction with this, is that it's based on real people. Like I don't know if we've ever run into that at all on Really Scared so far in the movies we discussed, period.
Yeah, I can't wait to get to like the thoughts about the ending, especially that one line towards the end about what they're going to do next leading into the sequel. Can't wait to hear about that. But yeah, the Warrens are like huge part.
Yeah. You can't not talk about it. I mean, it's interesting with this, because it's kind of like shaping these paranormal investigators into like these almost like folk heroes. Yeah, now they're not just it's not just a movie about them and their lives, but they're like the through line of a cinematic universe in France.
Like, who knew like Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga could like carry a whole entire cinematic universe? Like, they're so good in these roles.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, I think really it's so weird. You wouldn't think it, but like obviously second to Marvel, I think this is the most successful implementation of the cinematic universe so far in movies. Like there's other attempts, like obviously DC's had a lot of a complicated production history and timeline, and then there's like the MonsterVerse, which is still kind of young. It's still kind of like it's only just now picking up like the real universe speed with the tie-ins and the Kong and Godzilla, and then like I don't know what else you would even consider. I guess like Wizarding World's kind of like trying to get there and stuff, but like second to Marvel, I would not think like this sort of mid-budget horror franchise coming from Warner Brothers would be like the first to get it. Like
and their least critically acclaimed movie is their highest grossing one.
Really, is that The Nun?
Yeah,
really. Although don't forget, I just watched it yesterday because it was the only one I hadn't seen that technically The Curse of La Llorona is in the universe too, which
true, because the priest from The Nun is in that.
Yeah, and then and in case you didn't like, or no, it's the guy from Annabelle, the first Annabelle. Because
I can't remember, because there's two movies I don't really like in the universe, and that's The Curse of La Llorona and the first Annabelle.
I would.
And this universe also has that like weird distinction of like a first movie and its sequel being better than the original.
Do you think? Do you like Conjuring? Do you like Conjuring 2 more?
Well, not The Conjuring 2, but Annabelle Creation.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Annabelle sucks ass.
Is that the one we saw?
No, so he's talking about the very first one, and then there's Annabelle Creation, and then there's Annabelle Comes Home.
I like Annabelle Comes Home, but Annabelle Creation is definitely the best out of the three, but Annabelle sucks. But when I saw Annabelle Creation, I was like, how do they just make this light years better than the original?
Isn't it so strange that Annabelle somehow completed a trilogy before the mainline Conjuring movies?
Yeah. I thought that was really weird.
Yeah, I don't know how Annabelle outpaced it, but I agree. I like the other, those last two Annabelle movies.
And a lot of people don't like The Nun, but I really liked it.
Taylor doesn't like it.
I didn't love it, and Jessica doesn't want to watch it because she thinks it looks too scary.
That scared the shit out of me.
There's not a lot of nun in it.
Oh my god!
More like
when I saw the second one for the first time, my asshole was sweating because of Valak. Like that thing scares the shit out of me. More than Bathsheba. Which we go back to. The question of like believing in this stuff actually happening. We did research on The Conjuring, the first one, like the story of the Perron family with Bathsheba, and a lot of things it's not meshing up with the story so much because the son apparently lived on a full life and her son wasn't actually sacrificed and stuff. So it's just a lot of.
There were some creative liberties done.
Yeah. So they exaggerated a lot of stuff. So it's kind of hard to, if you really do the research into it, to kind of see that like she was an actual witch who like sacrificed her son and did all this devil worshiping and whatnot.
They do more of that as like the movies go on. Like in the second one, Crooked Man, completely made up. But Crooked Man is scary as shit.
Yeah. Rewatching the second one, I like totally underestimated. I was like, wow, the shift, like sort of tonal shift and like the scale of what they're doing changes so much. Because this one's like she gets possessed and she's like a spooky woman, and then the next one they're like there's a demon nun and a crooked man and a scary grandpa and he blasts out of the wall. Like there's just like that now. It's
and
like
the nun was completely made up too. She didn't see a nun. She saw a demon, but they thought like, what if we had a very scary nun? That would be scary. What about a crooked man? Two's like, I don't know. The Warrens went to London one time and helped somebody who had a haunted house. So like, that's true. Now we'll make a movie. Like that's about it. Since we're on the topic of, because the end of the first one, they mentioned we're going to New England to investigate this house. Obviously,
Rhode Island.
Talking about Amityville.
Yeah, they went to Rhode Island to investigate.
Or Rhode Island, sorry.
Yeah, they went to Rhode Island to investigate. But the first one is 7 years prior to the second one, so there's all this time in between.
Weird because one of the last lines in the movie is them talking about Amityville.
Because Amityville happened a couple of months before the Perrin family happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's at the time when she saw that vision of Ed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why they were kind of talking about it, because Ed doesn't want her to continue doing things based off what happened. And then she, 7 years later, she sees him dying again with Valak being part of it. So it's a weird timeline a little bit. That's why I have to keep watching it over and over again so that I have it straight. But yeah, Amityville happened a few months before the first one, the actual case happened, and then 7 years pass, and then it's the second one where they go to London.
I've kind of always admired their restraint, and because the most obvious place to go with it is let's do the movie about Amityville. That's the most obvious place to go. And maybe I would imagine they probably don't, because there are so many Amityville movies. There's the primary one, and then the remake, and then there's I think because it's again,
God. I watched one
story, anybody can make an Amityville movie.
Or Bella Thorne. I watched one with Bella Thorne. It's so bad.
That's right. She is in one, and I think honestly, 2 or 3 have come out since that one.
Yeah, no, I saw another one that was also very bad, and I'm
they kind of
good idea. Conjuring didn't do Amityville because these are just bad.
Which is also why I'm kind of glad they didn't rush. Even though Annabelle did, 3, I'm glad that they didn't rush to do 3 in the same amount of time that they did Annabelle. They kind of took their time with it, picked out the right story, did the research that they needed to do, and then they executed it so well.
Yeah.
I know that they do kind of touch on Amityville because they show, Lorraine going in and being the guy, being the dad, and going around and shooting everyone in the house.
Yeah.
And that's where she has the vision in the basement and everything. But
right.
But I'm glad that they touched on it, though. I'm glad that they kind of showed it from that perspective of them being involved, and to the extent that they got involved in, and but didn't actually make that their focus on the movie.
Yeah, I think that was smart. I think that was. I think there was a lot of just it's just smart going that direction and not getting bogged down in a story that people have seen before, plus the words,
because I bet a lot of people were like, I wish they would touch on the Amityville story. I wish they would do something with it. And then they did, but they just didn't make that their whole focus.
Yeah.
Let's go on and tell a new story, right?
Let's hone in on the first one, the one the episode is about.
We were talking about Annabelle. I totally forgot that this opens with Annabelle.
It opens with Annabelle, and this opening is crazy. It starts out with so many scares, scare after scare.
I mean, that opening scene, just of half of her face.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good.
And I did see this in theaters on because they were still doing midnight showings. I know this came out the year after Dark Knight Rises, but they were still doing midnight showings for a little while. And I remember seeing this at midnight and being scared, because it goes from the Universal logo or the Warner Brothers logo, and then just slams in on her face, and I was like,
and that music.
It's midnight, and this scary doll just pops up on the screen immediately with these strings, and I'm like, all right. This is serious shit already.
We meet Annabelle for the first time, which, of course, again, what we should say, reportedly, that opening scene is something, again, that reportedly really happened. There was these, I think, college students who were possessed.
2 nurses.
Yeah, they had this doll that they said was possessed by an evil spirit. But
it was a Raggedy Ann, not a porcelain doll.
Yeah, right.
Which you can just go see in a museum, I believe. You can actually go see the real Annabelle. Yeah, it's just kind of a plain old Raggedy Ann doll not that suspecting. So obviously you make the movie, you're like, let's workshop this and make the scariest fucking doll of all time, so that people aren't being menaced by Raggedy Ann, which again, makes sense. Although I'd love to see how that would look if it was just a regular old Raggedy Ann doll. But yeah, Annabelle's real again, is a real doll. I shouldn't say is real. I don't know what happens if you mess with Annabelle, you touch the box or whatever.
I don't know. They have her lock and key. So apparently she is fucking demonic.
Wasn't there a thing a few months ago where they said Annabelle would work out?
North Korea started a rumor. It came from North Korea.
Oh, I didn't know that. Because it was debunked, right? They're like, actually, Annabelle's not missing.
Yeah, this actually came from North Korea. She's still there.
That's the lie. She's not still there. That was the excuse they came up with. They're like, tell everybody it's North Korea or like a Russian psyop. but get the fuck. Like they got the FBI on the phone. They're like, find Annabelle, and she might still be out there raising hell.
Like, North Korea posted that story, but she's really fucking gone.
Yeah, they're still looking for her. Movie on what's up on Annabelle, and real quick, I guess they kind of knew from this. I can't remember, like, how soon did they sort of announce, like, this is going to be a universe? Because it seems like
it almost happened immediately. I think it was like 7 or 8 months after.
Okay, yeah, because they're like, because the first Annabelle is that story, right, with those kids and all that. So I guess they already knew they were planting those seeds, but like. Again, they're smart. Annabelle's kind of sprinkled in throughout the movie, but like not distracting. Doesn't feel like this super heavy-handed. Like this is what the next movie's gonna be about. Just a lot of smart decisions in how they crafted this. So we get the kind of Annabelle lead in, and then you touched on kind of. I do want to mention just the opening title and how good it is. Yeah, not a lot of opening titles that make me feel scared. This has one. And we kind of mentioned it last week when I was talking about, like, imagine being in the 50s in a theater for the first time watching House on Haunted Hill and how scary it must have felt. This I had that, seeing it in the theater.
But James Wan does that with all of his movies. Even Insidious comes up with the big Insidious, and it's just these loud fucking strings, like, I'm like, oh my God. Like,
yeah.
Trying to give me a heart attack before the movie even starts.
Right. The theater is dark, and it's just so massive. It takes up the whole screen, The Conjuring, and you have sort of that choir like droning coming in. So it's so like oppressive how big it is, and it's just so loud. And I remember sitting there and honestly thinking like, oh, this might actually be a scary movie. Hold on. Like this feels a little different. Like because at this point already, I think like sort of ghost, paranormal, possession movies are already coming out quite frequently. This
time I think we had 3 Paranormal Activity movies.
Yeah, and we
had The Last Exorcism. We had The Exorcism of Emily Rose. We had a lot of exorcism and like paranormal movies.
Yeah.
By the time this came out.
Right. So even then, I remember feeling like, man, haven't we had enough of these kinds of movies? But that's the thing. That's what I think is so great about this is because like it stands apart. The quality bar is much higher than something like, I don't know, the Devil Inside. Remember that movie? Like those kinds of
The Devil Inside.
Those dime a dozen movies that come out still every year now. There's just such a quality to this, like almost, I don't know, I think I would even say like a classiness to this that just sets it apart, and the quality bar is much higher. And I think a lot of that has to do with the Warrens, which again, it's so weird because in reality, they've got kind of that reputation of like, they're baloney. They're like kind of hucksters, they're nice people, but they don't have any real evidence of ghosts, that kind of thing, which I think probably anybody in that field, it's so funny. This would be like if they made like a Zach Baggins movie in like 10 years, like it's such a funny place to start. But because they're so likable as characters, like the heart of this film and their relationship and just like such good, wholesome people at the center of it. It's like for me, I feel a lot more invested. I don't know if you guys share in that at all.
Yeah, I do.
They're just like,
you care about them. Like that's what James did with his movies is he made you care about what happens to Ed and Lorraine and the families.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of, I think, some movies lack, is they lack you having a connection with the main people in the movies. And when you have that connection, you really care and you get really, really involved in what's happening in the movies. So
yeah, I think that's especially true in horror, where there's a tendency for, when you watch a horror movie, you're like, I want to see scary things happen. And most of the time, scary things are bad things. And so the character work is kind of put on the back burner. And it's like, okay, the main character is just sort of your surrogate, just sort of your device to get you through the movie. But like, you want to see them scared. You want to see bad things happen because that's how the movie happens.
Mm-hmm.
But this, not so much. For me, I can, even in the second one, maybe even more so, like, I really care about, and a lot of it has to do with the performances. You have two amazing actors at the center of this film. Patrick Wilson, who, of course, is coming off the Insidious movies with James Wan, too. So they have a relationship there. And you bring in Vera Farmiga, who I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah.
I like her in everything.
It's so crazy that they bring her sister into the universe too.
Yes, is that her sister? I thought it was her daughter.
Her sister. I've always thought it was her daughter too. It's her sister. They're like almost 20 years apart, but they're sisters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know.
James Wan does a really good job at character building. He spends like the first half hour character building. He makes you care about the characters. He still builds the dread and this kind of hints at the scares coming that are gonna happen. The clapping, the hide and clap game happens during that character building. And it's so creepy, but there's no real scares there, but it's still, he builds that dread. It's coming. You're like, oh, something's gonna happen with that. The sleepwalking, something's gonna come with that. He does this character building, but builds dread around it, where you care about these characters, but something is gonna happen around what's going on with their everyday lives.
Yeah. I would agree. Part of this movie's strength is you get the putting Annabelle up first makes you go, here's something scary. Okay, now that we've seen something scary, let's take a break. Here's the Warrens teaching a class at a campus. Here's the family moving in. But you're right. This movie is full of setups and payoffs too.
Yes.
You get your first half of the scare before it's scary, but you see it and you already know. The clapping, you're like, oh fuck, that's gonna come back and be really scary, isn't it? Or hi mommy, look in this. You could see somebody behind you if you look in here.
In the cellar.
Just full of these moments where you're like, that's gonna come back, and he's just building the tension. I don't know if there's any that I can think of really, and that's not to put any other director down, but so specifically speaking, I don't know if there's any director in the game right now who's better at crafting a scare. Even an execution of it. There's the setup, and then even once you're finally there, he's it's patient. It's not. There is obviously jump scares in it. There's jump scares in all the Conjuring movies. Insidious, he's not above that, But the tension of getting to the jump scare,
he infects you with the fear, and it just builds and builds and builds. And he, for some reason in the movies, every single time that something was happening with the kids, or somebody was in their room, or the fucking Bathsheba jumping from the closet and attacking Andrea, I was like, oh my gosh, this is where shit goes off the rails. And then it stops.
Yeah.
And then it just builds up. It keeps building up again. And I'm just like, God damn it.
We have to give credit to James Wan, because I think I was 12 when Saw came out, and I remember being scared from that movie.
Yeah.
With, the guy Jigsaw was controlling, in the closet with the sheet over him, that scared the shit out of me. And I was 12 years old, and I was like, oh, I can't wait for his next movie.
Yeah.
Whoever did that, I can't wait for his next movie. And then he did Insidious, and then, The Conjuring. And I've said it so many times, this is the master of this is the current master of horror.
Yeah, Saw was the first horror film that I ever watched.
Wow, really?
It was the first horror film that I ever watched. I think I was like 14, 15, maybe. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Watched the second one, watched the third one, and I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
Where is this going? And then that's when I stopped. I was like, oh, they're not going to be any good anymore. But the first one I remember was just so good.
Yeah.
I saw every single Saw movie
too.
Like at the midnight premiere. They ended up becoming 10 o'clock premieres, but I saw every single one the Thursday night. I was like, I'm seeing this movie.
Yeah, it did have that charm of October's coming up. You know that means another Saw's on its way. And I know, Connor, you're very excited to read from the book of Saw this year. Is that correct?
Oh, I cannot wait because it comes out on my birthday.
Yes.
Oh.
So I am going to put on 2 masks. I'm going to the independent theater literally down the street. And I'm going to go see the book of Saw on my birthday.
Would you put a mask on and then a pig's head over your head?
Yes, absolutely.
And then another mask on top of the pig's snout. Yes. Just to make sure everybody's safe.
Just to make sure that we know I am being safe. Yeah. Yeah. I love James Wan.
Yeah, for real. Everything when he commits to a new thing, he spends gold. Like Saw, he only directed the first one, I think, right? But he sets it up. Huge franchise, right? Does the same thing with Insidious, directs the first 2, right? Yep. Big franchise. Then again, here at Conjuring, first 2, it moves on. Now he's doing Malignant, which I'm sure if he is interested in it and the studio's interested in it.
I can't wait to see what he does with Giallo. It's going to be insane. And Leigh Whannell, who wrote the first Saw and Insidious with him, and directed the third Insidious.
Right.
He credits a lot of his technical ability and his crafting of his story and the scare from James Wan.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a guy that's Leigh Whannell is insane too. He did Invisible Man, which we both, I'm sure all 3 of us loved.
Good. Yeah. Oh, good.
He credits a lot of that crafting of the scare and the camera work. He credits all of that to James Wan.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a guy who is kind of mentored one of the greatest, another great horror director.
Mm-hmm.
So
he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's definitely he's one of the chosen people right now, I think, in the horror game.
Mm-hmm.
One of those ones who automatically sells the ticket by putting his name on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was so weird for me to see Patrick Wilson in this movie when I first saw it. I'm not gonna lie, because
so good.
I knew him from the Phantom of the Opera, so it was strange for me to see him in this role. I'm so used to him watching him sing in a movie, but I was like, oh, he's real. And I know he was in Watchmen, which was amazing.
Yeah, that's what I knew him from was Watchmen. I think that was the first time I kind of was introduced to him.
Yeah, it was Phantom of the Opera.
I think that was 2009 was Watchmen.
And talk about range. Don't forget his other James Wan collaboration in fucking Aquaman.
Aquaman. And he's Insidious.
Yeah, he's...
I haven't seen Aquaman. So.
Orm, Aquaman's evil brother. Which, okay, we talk about range again. James Wan as a director did fucking Aquaman.
I know.
In a Fast and the Furious movie. He's...
Yeah, he did arguably the best Fast and Furious movie.
Yeah, I mean, he's not just, he's primarily been a horror filmmaker, but he's it's not like he's in that box and that's all he can do. He's just a great filmmaker, very intelligent filmmaker and creative and just gets how to craft a story and how to make a movie, which I think, again, kind of elevates this and makes that distinction of okay, this just feels a little bit different than some random ghost movie you pull out of the bargain bin, right? And I love how much there is to talk about with the.
I know, because we're already almost an hour in, and we haven't gotten past the opening credits.
Yeah.
So the story is based around what's the family?
Perrin family.
Perrin family.
Yeah, the Perrin family.
They moved to this house kind of in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a fixer-upper.
They bought it through the bank. Auction.
An auction. Yeah. And almost immediately, like we said, they start experiencing some really awful things.
Yeah. Poor Sadie.
They start smelling rancid, smells like rancid meat.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the youngest is like sleepwalking and banging her head into a wardrobe that was there when they moved in.
That's Mackenzie Foy, right?
That's Mackenzie Foy. Yeah, she's the second youngest.
Second youngest. That's right. Yeah.
April is the youngest, the one that finds the music box.
That's right.
Makes friends with Rory. She's also the one that finds Sadie dead outside.
Yeah.
And
she's played by a little baby Joey King. Yeah.
Yep.
No.
Joey King is the middle child.
Christine.
Oh, okay.
Joey King plays Christine, who she's the one that wakes up in the middle of the night and sees somebody standing in the corner.
Oh my God, that scene.
Oh yeah. Though when her foot got pulled, oh my gosh, how many times have you made sure your feet were covered in the middle of the night when you were sleeping?
You're talking about the scene where she starts seeing someone behind the door. You don't see anybody.
No, and I've watched that movie so many times. I've tried to see somebody in that corner. Yeah,
performance, her sheer terror in that scene,
scared
the shit out of me.
Joey King's amazing. She's an amazing actor.
You don't see anything, but her performance really sells that there is something behind the door, and it scares you.
Yeah. Very good.
Again, speaking to
that is one of the most. That's one of the scariest scenes to me in that movie, and you don't see anything.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My man Chris Anthony Lopez in the chat, stopping by to say hello to some amazing folks. Thank you,
Chris.
Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. We love you. Speaking again to James Wan's ability to craft a scare, it's so smart that he totally denies you the catharsis of seeing what's back there.
Yes.
Because another movie would it would zoom in and somebody go blah, and you get to that moment eventually. But doing it at the door would totally make you feel like, okay, I got heads or tails of what's going on now. But instead, you don't see what she sees. There's nothing there really, as far as you can tell, but just so wonderfully filming the darkness. The other sister going over there and turning her back to it makes you so uncomfortable because you're just waiting at any moment for that thing to come out and just grab her. It never does. The door just shuts on its own.
Yeah, it just slams.
And even more so, that makes you see that there's nothing behind her, but something moved. It's just so smart the way it puts you on pins and needles, waiting for what's going to happen. And it's no, I'm not going to give it to you yet. You're going to get it, but you're going to have to wait even longer. And the tension of waiting to figure out what's going on and what you're going to see is so smart. The whole first act is filled with that. They wait. Yeah. So right about the halfway point, I want to say, where they finally show you something, and that's when they're we got all those
Warrens really move in, and they explain it. They give it to you. They're you haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah.
We're here now, and we're probably going, our presence is probably pissing them off.
Right.
By the way, probably very angry now.
By the way, Joey King, you mentioned early, Connor, coming off the heels of Dark Knight Rises, which she is in as, anybody got it? It's big three-pointer right here. Here's Dark Knight Rises spoilers. She's little baby Talia al Ghul in the pit.
Oh, okay.
God, she is. She's little bald-headed Talia al Ghul.
Yeah, you think she's Bane for half the movie. And this is Talia al Ghul. And then, of course, Mackenzie Foy, we must stand our Renesmee. The Almighty. The Almighty. Love to see Renesmee return to the show here. All the setups. We really, it's smart because they keep the Warrens and the family separate for a long time. I kind of forgot how long it takes before the Warrens really enter the main plot.
45, 50 minutes. They are kind of roped into it. Mom, it It was the clapping scene and like everybody being separated in the house. That's really what set it off.
And Ron and the dad, Ron Livingston's character, like he has to leave for a while, like a couple days for work. He like works he like drives a rig.
When the mom and April were playing hide and clap.
Yeah.
Okay. The girls were at school and then they were home alone and they were playing. Oh my God. When those doors opened and those hands came out, I was like, oh shit.
Well, that's not what sets it off, but that is very scary. It's that night when the dad is about to come home.
You're right. Yeah, I jumped ahead. I jumped ahead to the other clap scene. You're right.
Yes.
I jumped ahead a little
There
bit.
are two, but they're both very scary.
But I'm glad you mentioned that one, Jessica, because you're right. It's that scene where they're playing, and again, you're like, oh fuck, this thing's coming back already. Because every time they play clap, something terrible happens. The first time they find the horrible, spooky basement, because one of their kids like runs through a wall like the fucking Kool-Aid Man, and they find the scary basement. Oh yeah, and they go down there and they're like, yeah, it looks like a pretty scary basement down here. And it's like, I always, this probably wasn't true, but when I first saw it, I always interpreted that as like by opening the basement they let Bathsheba out, but they never really say that. Okay, so you had kind of that read too. They never really say that. As
soon as they break that, everything goes to shit.
No, because the land itself is cursed. So, like, the boy drowning on the land, but not by the house.
Sold off was
So it's the land itself that is cursed, where bad things happen. But I do agree that like the cellar being opened like that, like kind of just like released a whole bunch of just kind of like awoke things a little bit more, because I know
more than one like spirit in the house, but I think Bathsheba was always going to be there. But what really set it off was breaking open that cellar, like that boarded up cellar that released the woman in the basement, which is also a terrifying scene when Elizabeth Warren is down there and like looking in the music box.
And it just goes.
Oh god, we'll get to that.
I want to go back to the second clap scene, which because Jessica, you touched on
in the basement. The daughters are locked upstairs. The mother's locked in the basement.
There's that, but Jessica. Jessica mentioned I just love this. I'm sorry, I keep coming back to it. I just love this scene where where they're playing, where she's playing with her daughters.
And the kids are at school.
Yeah, and again, Jessica mentioned it. It's so quiet. You can hear a pin drop. She's playing clap, goes in the room. And again, background completely out of focus, but you see those doors open and these weird hands come out. You can't even, there's no detail, but you can just tell something's not right. And because making them tangible, making it something you can see but quite can't figure out is so scary, especially when, her daughter finally comes in and it's like, Mommy, you're so fucking stupid. I was
in Christine's room hiding.
You stupid bitch. You stupid asshole. You suck at this game.
Oh my gosh. Which is kind of what she did when she like had her like do the music box. She's like, see, I got you, Mommy.
That youngest daughter is kind of a little shit.
But you could definitely tell when the hands come out that they're not April's, and I think that is what really like set the tone. Is like, okay, that's definitely not a little girl's. Those look like gray dead hands, and they're moving super slow.
It's just his way of framing a shot. Mm-hmm. Like, this is going to be a good scare. He knows how to frame it. He knows how to pace it. Knows how to shoot it. He's just so good at it.
Yeah.
Again, it's something where not a lot is happening. It's just hands clapping, but they're out of focus. It's a wide shot. Like, there's not a lot happening. Very quiet. Mm-hmm. And it's still so scary.
Yeah. I think they said that the first sign of everything happened is when the clock stopped at 3:07. Mm-hmm. But I think it was before they even introduced that. It's when we saw the bruise. On her leg, when she woke up and there was a bruise right there in her leg. Like, that's a little weird. Why is she getting bruises? I know they, were getting it on the night before, but come on.
Yeah.
And it just kind of went off from there.
Yeah, and then again, you're going back to the Warrens, but they're kind of doing their own thing for still a while. You get a sense of what their day to day is, and they add this interesting layer to them, which I'm not sure how present this is in the real Warrens, because again, they kind of have that sort of P.T. Barnum reputation of kind of, they're kind of putting on airs and stuff, but. In this, they had that interesting scene where they like go to investigate a haunting, and they're like, "No, you just got creaky floorboards. The pipes are loud, and this is what happens. 99 times out of 100 is you're just freaking yourself out," which I thought was an interesting distinction to make. Where I feel like their real world reputation is like any house they walk into, they're like, "Oh, something terrible happened here. We got to get the devices out. We got to go. We're gonna put your couch in our museum." Like that, they have that kind of reputation in reality.
Yeah,
but I think interesting to add that. Because then it makes, shit feel like it's hitting the fan so much more. Because by the time they get into the parents' house, they are doing that. They're like there for 5 minutes and they're like, whoa, this isn't right. And then they all start, that is when they're running around the house and they're like, when did the clock stop? Okay, it smells like a dead meat over here. Like they're just immediately assigning it.
The knocks are coming in threes. That's that's mock on this,
Holy Trinity.
Yeah.
It's like they immediately like just have the encyclopedia in their head. Like, okay, you got this. We got a Bathsheba on our hands. Like they.
Yeah, and this is happening after we see the Bathsheba jump off of the wardrobe
onto Andrea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we see the clapping when the mom gets locked in the cellar, and you hear Rory like you want to play hide and clap, and you see the hands come out of the black and just clap by her head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, just two giant scares right after one another. Like such a scary sequence.
Yeah, but even before like Bathsheba jumping off of that closet, when Mackenzie Foy's character is hitting her head against the closet and it's making that banging sound, and then Andrea comes over and she's like, "You could sleep in my bed." And then the banging continues with nobody there, and then that's when she realizes what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
And then Mackenzie's character sees Bathsheba on top of it and they all freak out.
She looks like and again, it looks like, and this, they kind of, I still don't know if grounded's the word, but relative to the next one, they keep it kind of close, kind of smaller scale. Like she's a scary ghost witch woman, like jumps off and attacks you, kind of a beat off like The Exorcist, kind of feels like how Reagan looks in that, kind of what you think she would look like, but still used sparingly in a way that when you finally do get a good look at her, you're like, ugh! Like you really don't until
the
end. And then like she's pretty fucking scary. And I keep going, the clapping thing is such a good device because again, you think in the second scene we were talking about, you think, okay, this is paid off and it's done. But then it comes back again, yes, when she's in the basement, and that the perfect ending for that bit. Her when she goes up the stairs and her back's to the door. But it's like the vastness of the dark behind her, and again, these ones do look kind of human, right? But where they're coming from is impossible. There's no way someone can be behind her, and it's just God, it's so scary when those hands pop up.
I don't know many horror movies where they kind of set that up with like a repetitive scare that literally scares you every time.
Mm-hmm.
Like they hint at it at the very beginning, and then it just keeps coming.
Yeah.
And it's that way for the first half of the movie. It does it like 2 or 3 times where it's a repetitive scare, but it gets you every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is my 30th time seeing this movie, and I know it's coming, and it still scares me.
Yeah.
Still making my asshole sweat.
I think a lot of horror movies, they have like those iconic moments where you're just look at the character and you're like, why the fuck did you do that? It was such a mistake. Don't do that. Is when she like yells down in the basement before the clap happens, and she's like, "You're gonna stay down here and I'm gonna lock you in there." It's like, why would you talk to it? What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's just like I scream at the TV every single time I see that. Like I'm just like, why? Just get out of there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But I think there's something to be said about having the Warrens come in as these characters who like do know what's going on and how to deal with that. And again, you find yours because now you're like, okay, you've got these people who are informed, who are educated, and like have a plan. And so like you trust in their ability to deal with the situation. So you don't feel like I feel like a lot of movies like this would have like, okay, here's your main character, here's your parent family, they live in the house, they deal with this shit, scene after scene after scene after scene, and then like halfway through the movie, they like call the priest, and he comes in, he's like, you got a Bathsheba, and then like he leaves or whatever. And it's just, they break the formula by having the protagonists be the people who know how to deal with it in the end. The family's obviously a huge deal too, and I would say protagonists as well, but having the Warrens as your through line, I think, again, kind of gives it a distinction where you're like, okay, these characters know what they're doing. I'm not going to second guess them. And like, I can, they're likable, and I can like believe in them and their sort of mission through this. Cause they're going through the house and they're figuring out, they figure out that a bunch of murders and suicides happen in the house, which I think
that's after they leave the house the first time. They're like, by the way, we probably pissed whatever it is. We probably pissed it off.
And I think I think when Jessica and I were reading about it, that part's true. That with the parents' house did have a whole like rap sheet of terrible things actually happened there.
Yeah. So the Warrens go home back to their daughter, and they start investigating. They try pull up some stuff, and they find out the original people that own the land, their like mother or grandmother was one of the people accused of witchcraft at the same witch rifle, known as Bathsheba. And she like tried sacrificing her kid in front of the fire and then hung herself.
3 and 7 in the morning.
Satan, which kind of started off, curse the land. Whoever takes my land is going to be cursed for life. And then everything after that is just like horrible thing after horrible thing. The next family that lived in that house was a woman and her son. Her son drowned. She killed herself in the basement. Well, the son went missing in the woods, and then the mother killed herself in the basement.
Are you talking about the woman that they
see eventually, and you're like, oh, so the son didn't really disappear. The mother killed the kid. But and then like another kid, they find out like the original property was acres and acres of land.
Yeah.
And it got sold off in subsections. So another family that lived in one of the subsections, the kid drowned, and a bunch of shit happened. So the land is really cursed because all this stuff is happening. So they're like, oh, this is bad. We have to go there. We have to family.
Yeah. If you do the research and you look it up, there are a lot of things that actual events that did happen on that land that that were really, really awful. Like a 11-year-old girl, she got raped and murdered, and that really happened.
Yeah.
And it's just like a lot of fucked up stuff did happen on that land. But yeah, I'm glad they didn't add that into the movie because that'd be a real downer. Bathsheba, 7 days after she gave birth to her son, she threw him into the fire, and Judson, her husband, found her doing that, and then she proclaimed her love to Satan, and then cursed her land and hung herself in that tree. Which I have to say, that scene with her hanging there, the sound of the rope twisting,
of the rope swinging, and then you see the legs behind him. Oh my god! I remember that scene in theaters. It was a sold out movie theater. This is when like movies sold out. Yeah, it was a midnight showing, sold out.
Yeah,
midnight sold out. Everybody was screaming.
I bet.
Because they just hear the rope sound and you're like, oh no. And then you see it and everybody's just screaming.
Yeah.
He does such good stuff with audio. Such good stuff. Because even with
sound design is so good.
Yeah, because even in those like moments where we can't see something, like you can hear it breathing. And it makes your skin crawl so much. Oh my gosh. Does that in the first and the second movie.
Yeah.
So good.
And that also you get a better idea of like what Ed and Lorraine's dynamic is, where Ed is like he really is kind of the paranormal investigator. He's the guy who like he's the guy with the devices. He's sort of I think he's an ordained. No, he's not an ordained minister, right?
He's not ordained, but he's recognized by the Vatican.
He is the only that was the thing, is he was the only person that was not ordained that was recognized by the Catholic Church,
right?
To do what he did. And Lorraine is a clairvoyant.
Yes, so she can actually see manifestations. She's able to sort of
feel,
feel, see things around other people. Get that intuition. And so what that scene sets up is like, if Lorraine's in the scene, something scary can happen at any time, because she might just see one of any of the terrible things that are happening in this house. They may actually manifest before her. But it also sets up a very sweet moment later in the movie where she's speaking with Carolyn, played by Lily Taylor, who's also so good in this. Talk about screaming. Talking about a scared performance. She's amazing in this too.
Yeah.
They have that very sweet scene where she's talking with her in front of the family photo at the beach, and just by speaking about it and being near her, she can actually almost feel how she felt while she was there that day. She can kind of see them running through the sand, like actually can sense that moment and latch onto those feelings.
Because when she touches the picture, she then starts to visualize what actually. So when she touches her, she can then visualize what she's seeing and feeling at the same time. And
again, that's another thing. It's like, here's a setup. It's going to pay off later. Like, this movie's filled with those types of things. It's like, that's what happens when you make a good movie. It's like, it's not just like this happens. Everything that happens is all constructed for an actual complete story. It's just so well constructed and composed, the entire thing.
Right. Where did we leave off of?
So now I think we're getting towards where Roger has to leave. The Warrens are still around too, because now they've brought in Drew, who's like their funny little cute ghost hunting assistant.
Well, he was there in the beginning. He was there in the opening scene where they were, because he was the one showing the video. He's their like assistant, I guess you would say. So he actually goes to their lectures with them and assists showing footage and stuff.
He plays someone outside of the community, so they bring in like a local police officer.
Yeah.
So I think they have to. I think they actually have to have law enforcement there. I think that's part of their process with the church and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But that was actually really interesting to see too, is like their process of how they take cases on and what they do with them.
And this is very off topic, but the movie actually had a lawsuit from the owners.
That's right.
I'm surprised.
The most current owners of the house that the movie is based on. They sued the movie.
That's crazy.
Well, because they were constantly being vandalized and harassed at the house, right? Like they were saying, people are leaving scary messages and satanic offerings, which honestly, probably, if I had to guess one way or another, I'd say probably wasn't true, or maybe somebody left one thing, but it just feels like such a cash-in attempt, right? It just feels, just feels kind of. Also, this is also kind of unrelated, but you reminded me of it. I totally forgot this was an R-rated movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think the reason I forgot that was because there's not necessarily anything in it that would make it.
There's no nudity. There's very little blood. There's
no profanity, really.
No profanity. I think it was one of the first movies where I remember it being rated R purely for like terror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the MPAA. I guess it said, because the studio was also like, "Why is it rated R? We didn't make an R-rated movie," and they're like, "It's too scary." We can't, and nothing. I think the quote was like, "You cannot cut anything out of this or change the tone of it enough to where it won't be too scary." And it's going to always be rated R. Which, like, holy shit, what a crazy that's impressive. And like now, when studios scramble,
it's literally rated R for just sequences of disturbing violence and terror. I remember that being like, I remember going to see it and being like, there's no blood, no violence. It's just disturbing images and terror. This has to be a very frightening movie for it to receive an R-rated movie just for being disturbing and terrifying.
There was some blood. There was very
when she like throws up the blood when she's being like exercised.
I think it also is because she bit the guy's face. Yeah. She bit his face. I was like, whoa.
You could see that in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah,
you don't see the like flesh being ripped off or anything. You just see his wound for like I think like 3 seconds.
Yeah, so I was not expecting that when it happened.
It's not a gory movie. It really is fascinating. I mean, to me, that's like a huge honor. Like, your movie's so scary, we won't even give like, teenagers the opportunity to go see it. Like, sorry, too scary. You gotta grow up first. Yeah, you're not old enough. You'll be too scared, which kind of harkens back to like we've been talking about, William Castle out last month. Like just the sensationalism of a scary movie, I feel like is just not something you get to experience anymore.
And if I remember correctly, that was a huge thing when the movie was released. Was like, this movie's rated R. There's no violence or sex or nudity or profanity. It's just disturbing and terrifying.
Yeah.
The reasons it's rated R.
Yeah.
I think also like the children being in danger throughout most.
Yeah, I think that kind of plays into the terror and disturbance of the story.
Yeah. It's scary. It's genuinely unnerving, and I also kind of give props in this scenario of like, because I feel like studios scramble so often, like rated R, we can't do that. We got to move things around because it'll make less money because less people can see it. But they just stuck to their guns on it. Obviously, this is a $20 million movie, which is a pretty that's a modest budget. So, and I think this was a record breaking film when it came out. I don't remember as far as
when it came out, it was the highest grossing horror film.
Yeah, so like did gangbusters, which was obviously totally affirming to them. They're like, holy shit, we got a franchise, keep it R. Let's keep rocking.
This is rare. This is, with Saw, you see diminishing returns, kind of a spike in the 4th or 5th one, and then diminishing returns again. This one, with every movie, it made more money.
Yeah.
Every single one, it made even more and more money. Yeah. Up until Annabelle 3, it made, a little bit less than Nun, but it was still higher than the first one. Mm-hmm. It had I think a $10 million dip from the $50 million that the Nun made.
Yeah.
But it kept making money.
People love these movies, and I think it has everything to do with just how strong they established that name, The Conjuring, right out the gate. Mm-hmm. They just really called their shot and made something very unique. And again, in that it's, partly based on a true story. And
it's not something that's churned out every other year or every year. It's something that takes 2 or 3 years to come out with a new one because they're, it really takes time to develop the story, do the research, find the right director, which James Wan, I've read, hand picks. Mm-hmm. He has final say on director and writer and story. Mm-hmm. So he's kind of the shepherd of the whole entire universe, and he takes his time in making sure this is going to be a good movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it another part of why it's one of a kind. And oh, yeah.
Yeah. So right around here, this is now where Carolyn gets pretty much, it's where it's marked that, okay, she's possessed now. Because this is the moment where the house is pretty much empty. The family all kind of leaves.
Well, no, they do some more investigating. They set up cameras and stuff, infrared sound, stuff like that. And Elizabeth goes in the basement and finds the woman who was the mother of the kid that disappeared on the land, but finds out that the mother killed the kid. And she's saying, which is a terrifying scene. This is when I tweeted that The Conjuring still makes my asshole sweat. She's looking in the music box and sees the woman in the mirror.
Yeah. You guys are forgetting the because like you said, they set it all up, but Mackenzie Foy's character is sleepwalking because Rory is showing her to his safe place. Yeah. And then that's when they find the safe place. And when Lorraine goes in to put the music box in, but she falls through the wood and she goes all the way down into the cellar. And then that's when she sees the mom with Rory in her hands.
Yeah, and she says that she made me do it. She closes the music box, and then you see her face right there.
Right.
Yeah. So scary, like the black, like deep eyes, like goo, like dripping out. Oh, so scary.
Yeah, she's like, look what she made me do. Look what she made me do.
Yeah,
and then
you hear the rope.
She figures it out that Bathsheba is like causing all these mothers to kill their kids.
Yeah, but I also loved the reaction from the mother when she heard the rope. She got scared hearing Bathsheba there. You know what I mean? Like the look of terror on her face when she heard Bathsheba there. That was like that was a big deal to me too.
Yeah.
And then that's
when they send the family off. They're like, she's visiting the mom at night, like she's making the moms kill the kids.
Yeah, that's when she comes up and she's like, Bathsheba's feeding on the moms. That's what the bruises are. They mean she infests the mothers and possesses them and then has them kill the kids.
Yeah. And so they send the family off to a hotel while they kind of try to get
the whole like big thing happens with one of the girls getting thrown around because she's been pulled by the hair.
Oh yeah, this is during the whole like revelation where like
she's figuring
really
it out.
pissed off Bathsheba where like they figured it out and Bathsheba's like, nope, nobody's leaving, and they start dragging that girl around. Oh my god.
Yeah, and Caroline's already possessed at this point because we missed the part where Lorraine's outside doing the laundry, and remember that scene where the sheets fall and you just see like the outline of a person, and then it goes to the window, and then there you see Bathsheba, and there she is, and then
2 stairs in a row. Another thing where like you're like, oh, it's over, the sheets away. Nope,
she's in the window. And then that scene where Caroline's snapping and then she like wakes up, but then Bathsheba comes right over on top of her and you see her face.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's so many scares in this movie. I keep
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I know them all.
That's where she barfs in her mouth, right? Bathsheba? She gives her the old barf bag.
The blood vomit.
Yeah. And then we know because of how it comes back later, you can really mark that as okay, now this is the time where Bathsheba is really inside the mother. Okay, now she really is housed inside her body, and this is where we're starting to go towards where the movie's going to end and what Bathsheba's trying to do, which is possess the mother or kill the child. That's her bit. That's what Bathsheba loves to do.
Yeah, and like James really set it up really, really well too with Caroline's character, because you don't really like see much of her after that. Like when her kid's getting thrown around the room, she's nowhere to be found because she doesn't give a fuck. And I thought that was so cool, because every other scene where her kids are like something's happening to them, she's like running to them and trying to help them and figure out. She's really, really worried. But then in this scene, she's just nowhere.
Just standing there. I remember that scene.
Emotionless.
The same thing. Just standing there. Everybody else is freaking out. And she gets slammed into the like glass door and it shatters, and Elizabeth is freaking out. Dad's freaking out. What's the other Warren?
There's Ed and Lorraine.
Ed.
Yeah, Ed.
I'm calling her Elizabeth. I don't know why.
That's okay.
Lorraine. But yeah, Ed like is freaking out, and they end up cutting her hair off. Like, but she's still standing there.
Yeah,
not doing anything. And then you don't see her until she's driving back to the house with Christine and April after they went to the motel, and Ed and Lorraine went home. But
I do want to talk about that, because I thought that was an interesting thing too, that they end up carrying the energy and the entity back home with them, which comes back again.
Her necklace gets cut off
because Bathsheba has her necklace. Yep.
Yeah, Bathsheba even like through through like Annabelle, it starts terrorizing their child, and that's where the Warrens start to feel like, oh man, do we need to hold off on, like, can we do this? And especially because Lorraine's so vulnerable and sensitive as a clairvoyant, he's very wary of her getting, too deep into it, losing herself, of what it might do to her mind, and I guess really her spirit, because they have that conversation where he's trying to be like, and this goes to the second movie as well. Ed's always like, you stay behind, I'll go figure it out. I've got the knowledge and the devices, and I'll figure it out and I'll take care of it. But he really can't do it himself. It's about what they both bring together, and they have that conversation. God brought us together. This is why only we can do this. Which gets in, again, I think set up in the beginning. None of us are extraordinarily religious people by any stretch of the imagination, but I think they introduced that element. It's honest to who those people actually are, without feeling preachy or overbearing. It doesn't become pure flicks,
But that was such a big part of like why they were doing a lot of this, was to educate people on, angels and demons and God and the devil, as they were trying to bring awareness to a lot of people. And I think you get a little taste of that when he asks the dad,
if he goes to church.
Yeah, and if his kids have been baptized.
We're not a church-going family, and he's like, you should probably think about that.
Yeah, you should probably rethink that. Yeah, so I like how they kind of just like put in a little taste of what they were actually going through in their real lives and stuff like that, and not just so much on scaring people throughout the whole entire movie.
Yeah. Which, as I understand, I think. Was Ed Warren already dead by the time they made this film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Lorraine wasn't, I think, is still alive.
No, Lorraine recently died.
She did recently pass away. Because I know
last year.
Okay.
She passed away.
Because from what I understand, she was on set for like a lot of the production of this film.
She consulted a lot of this one and the second one, and
she died in 2006.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So they were both dead.
No, she has a cameo in this movie.
She does. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm talking about Ed. My bad.
Yeah, I thought Ed was already long.
Lorraine.
Away.
Which, when Jess and I were watching this, I knew Lorraine had a cameo somewhere, and when
we couldn't find her.
When the scary old lady pops up, I said, "Is that her?" And she's like, no. You were like, no. I watched it again today, and I found her. She's in the second.
Did you?
She's
in the beginning when they're
in the second scene where they're giving a presentation, where they're teaching and they're watching the film, and the cross shows up in the guy's skin. Like it's almost all like young people, and you just see this very silver-haired older lady hanging out with them too. And I was like, there's Lorraine.
Were you Leo and
Yeah, I was pointing at her up there. There she is. But I did think she was the scary old lady in the basement when we watched it.
No, she died in 2019.
Okay, yeah. So in any case, she was, obviously she had a cameo. I understand she was very present on set, and in her own words, like, never objected to anything they did or any decision they made, and approved of the whole, like, and of course you did. Why wouldn't you approve it? Because they're making you like a total psychic badass demon slayer. Like,
she made so much money off of visits, which someone else owns the museum now, but you can still visit. But she made so much money off that shit.
Well, even one of the daughters from the Perrin family made a book, and talked about the movie being made and the events that were happening, and even was like, this stuff happened.
Right. Yeah. Right.
I mean, me and Liv are still planning on visiting the Lorraine Museum once everything's okay again. But that's not what I want to do, because that's gotta be fucking creepy.
Yeah, I bet.
Zach Baggins Museum.
What's that?
The Zach Baggins Museum.
We're gonna visit Hell House and all that.
I've said this before. I want to go to the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant one day. That's on the bucket list.
Let's do it. A bro trip. Let's do it.
I was gonna say boys trip.
Yeah, I got him right over there. He's right.
I see him.
Where's the little mini
His little fella he's down below. He's hard to stand up, so I kind of let him.
Yeah, you kind of have to use the wings to balance him.
Yeah, I kind of let him lean up against the book.
You know what's my number one place I want to visit?
Tell me.
You already know. It's Hobbiton.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was too in the creepy bullshit headspace. Yeah, yes, you have somewhere very very sweet and beautiful you'd like to go.
What, like the little Hobbit town in New Zealand?
Yeah, the actual Hobbiton town that they have there. I want to visit there. I want to live there. That's what I want to do. I want to move into the little hobbit hole.
That's the dream, and you and I are not very tall, so it's got to be a really tiny hobbit hole to really achieve the effect of like our heads hitting the ceiling. We need that. We need that.
Back to Conjuring. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, the exorcism scene. Let's get to the exorcism scene.
Right. Oh well, first let's get to the part. Let's just admire for a minute the fact that when Ed and Lorraine show up, shit is already going down in the basement.
That's right. She's trying to kill the kid immediately. Like there's no setup to it. You're just Warren's trying to get there.
Because the cop has to blow the door off with the shotgun, right? Which I do like his character because he's the skeptic. He's like, this is all stupid. I don't believe it.
Wow.
Oh my God! When the door slammed and the look on his face.
He's like, how do you explain that? He's like, it was a draft, and then he talks about like, I believe the clocks, and the clock turns to 3:08.
Yeah. That was funny. But so they get to the basement, Ellen, Lorraine, and the cop, and Drew and the husband. They're trying to get April away from Carolyn because she's got the scissors in her hands and she's trying to kill her daughter. And,
and that is again, this is like now for the rest of the movie, we're just running on like pure terror.
Yeah, they tried pulling her out of the house, but you see like rope marks and like
she's like burning. She's like her skin is about to burn off.
Yeah, and they're like, don't. Like Bathsheba's gonna kill her if we try to take her out of this house.
Yeah, because they want to take her out for like a proper exorcist. Like they want to bring her to somebody who is ordained by the Vatican who can actually do it properly. Because Ed sets it up. Ed sets it up earlier. He's like, no, you need to really be officially ordained exorcist in order to perform one. They're very dangerous. I'm not approved to do it. But then they say, fuck it, we gotta do this thing right here, right now.
She gets dragged back down to the cellar, right?
Yep, sure. Her skin's burning, and then she flies out of their hands and down the hall. And I think you hear her actual voice, not the Bathsheba voice. You hear
Roger. Yeah,
you hear Carolyn's actual voice, which lets you know.
Because it is like the Bathsheba voice at first, but then it like goes back to her voice, like screaming Roger.
I think like she's still like going back and forth between Carolyn and Bathsheba because Bathsheba hasn't quite taken over just yet, but she's deep enough into it where she can control where she kind of goes a little bit. And I think that's why when she goes down into the basement, Bathsheba's just like throwing her around to like tire out her physically and mentally and everything to just take over her completely.
And that's when we see the cops cheek it. Like, or no, that's after, right?
Put her in
the exorcism.
They have her in the chair. They cover her with the sheet. They have her tied up.
Oh my God! This is so
before they put the sheet over. She put the cup before that happens because she's attacking Ed. And
that's right.
Ed screams Brad, and then Brad comes over to get her, and then she bites him, and then that's when Lorraine puts the sheet over her.
That's right.
I guess disorient her and so she can't see, and then she gets the chair.
To stop her from biting literally anybody else.
But I think that really also helps kind of like with them because I'm just assuming when you're like like doing an exorcist or trying to control somebody,
you don't have to look at who you're exorcising because they can switch back and forth, and
which would be harder to do.
Yeah.
And then that's when
but it also adds to the scare factor because you don't know what's going on under there. It just kind of like stops, like all the shit behind, like the stuff flying around stops. It's just quiet.
You just see this crazy ass movement. Yeah, this crazy ass movement that's going on. So then that's when Lorraine's like, you have to do the exorcism. And he's like, I'm not doing this with you in here. And she's like, this is why we're together. This is why God brought us together to do this together. And then that's when she goes to get the book, comes down, tries to start it. And then the one thing that I love about it is like Ed and Lorraine are like, we've never seen anything like this before in our lives. And you can see it in their face when he like threw the holy water on her and like everything's fucking shaking. And he just looks absolutely fucking terrified. And then when she coughs up that blood in the sheet, Lorraine's face is like, oh my God.
Through the sheet. And then you just see like this demonic face.
Full on the face. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Ed said, show yourself. Like he made the demon show herself and everything like that. And it was just like, and then you see the more terror on his face when that happens. Oh my gosh. So good. So done so well. And then
and that's a great point, because you get the promise of that in sort of the opening text, which is like these, Ed and Lorraine, actual people, ghost hunters. They have many stories. This one's the most fucked up one of them all. Yeah. And like you finally see in the payoff, it's like, because it's like, oh, they don't talk about this one. And at the end, you finally see how crazy it gets. Yeah, you do see they've been sort of the voice of authority through the film. Where it's like, yeah, we know what we're doing. We do this every day. This is our job. We have a whole trophy room of all the ghosts we've conquered in our lives. But yeah, you see them kind of, they're frantic, they're scrambling, they don't feel ready for, like Ed doesn't feel ready for this. He says as much throughout the film that this is out of his league, but because of the situation, he has to do it. He has to even relent to Lorraine helping. Even though he's scared for her life and what this might do for her and what sort of energy or entity she might take into herself just by being there.
It was some scary shit. And chair gets turned upside down, and then Ed yells for her to get dropped, and then she drops and the chair breaks, and that's where she kind of gets loose, and they're like fighting to get her down, and then that's when she gets the shotgun and like she like shoots at Ed, and that's when Brad gets up and like attacks him to get him out of the way. But then Drew is like, what?
Ghost gun. It's just you don't see a lot of ghosts shooting guns.
Because what did he Roger was like, let my wife go, leave her alone, leave my family alone. And then that's when she laughs and is like, she's already gone. And then the gun comes
I love the ghost, but she was like locked and loaded and ready to go. I love that. It just, again, you don't really see that. Just a little detail. The whole scene is so like, it's not over the top, even though it is so crazy. It's not like a portal of hell opens and a demon. Like it's so simple. It's like she's in a chair. The chair floats around, and you would think like, I've seen that shit before. That's not that cool. But again, it's just the execution of it. So again, you guys mentioned it, and the sound design. It's so quiet, and just how like they are all in awe and like. Or like, we're like, well, we just kind of sit back and watch this happen because we don't know what's going on. Just like, it goes on the ceiling. It falls down. Like, it's that whole, everything in the basement in the end is just so tense and scary. And it just like puts you in shock. You're just like, you're like this the whole time. You're just scrunched. I remember out in the theater just being like, oh, fuck, like so overwhelmed. The last like 20 minutes of this movie. Like it's a whole
imagine literally someone you don't know sitting next to you and they're screaming.
That would be me.
It makes you like it was an insane experience seeing this in the theaters.
And that like he does, and that just goes what I was saying earlier is like, because of the building of characters that he does, you automatically connect with these characters are in the movies, so you empathize with them, and you
especially that final like that ending. She gets loose when like she breaks the chair, she falls back down and breaks the chair, and what's his name? Drew? Is that
Drew? Yeah, because they're trying to find the daughter who's
trying to
ran off.
To take her out of the house.
He yells like, I found her. She's underneath the house, and she just
in
like,
the kitchen,
looks up and like run.
And she's like loose, and then she grabs the scissors and just goes.
I love that part because he's like, she's under the kitchen. And I just feel like everybody's like, shut the fuck up, Drew.
Like, son of a bitch.
The demon witch doesn't know where she is. If you just don't say anything, we can handle this.
But then, like, you think about it from his point of view, they're probably freaking out because they don't know where April, the daughter, is, because he doesn't know where she is, and he doesn't know what's going on.
Like, contribute.
Yeah, and he doesn't know what's going on in the basement right now. So he's just like, oh, don't worry. I found April. You don't need to freak out about where she is because she's under the kitchen. And find out he's not helping at all. He's contributing to
everything up because she ends up going under the house and grabbing her and is moments away from stabbing this poor young child to death. And Lorraine like gets under there and like
she puts her hand through the hole.
Clairvoyant power to like show her the life that she had before and was like, remember this moment you told me about, this happy moment. And it's such a touching and sad moment.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work if it was another filmmaker who didn't know how to craft the characters and build the characters, because you're really connected and it hits you.
Right.
And you really care and you're like, I hope this works out, and it ends up working out. And Sheba is casted out and the family's good. But that is like a weird moment where this child is almost murdered, but then it's like, I love you, Mom.
Yeah, I know.
And I saying again, Lily Taylor's performance there is just how much she has to do. She has to kind of play two things at the same time, which is this sort of, this eldritch demonic being who wants to, hold dominion on this earth and murder a child, while also being the mother of the child who's so scared and is on the verge of losing herself forever and has to be pulled back, because they've got this whole like triple team maneuver where Lorraine's kind of, she's doing the clairvoyant, like bringing the day back, while like Ed's pulling up support in the back. He's like reading the scripture. He's got his cross out. He's doing his thing.
And then he goes, Bathsheba! And
then
she appears.
Yeah. That's when you finally see the real, like the mom disappears totally for a second, and you see just straight up Bathsheba. Yeah, doing her
That
thing.
was a perfect Bathsheba.
Yeah, that was a good, very good. And then you have Roger in the also coming up with the support. He's just like, you're doing great, honey.
Don't go. Don't let her do it. Don't let her take you.
Don't let her do it.
And then all of a sudden it's just like, and then she's back all of a sudden.
It's like the equivalent of like what I do when I finally clean in the house. I'm like, I did the dishes, sweetie.
The Lord is here. The Lord has come. Yes.
Like, you're doing great. I'll do the dishes. Like, what do you want me to do? I'll do it.
Yeah, but that moment where she's finally walking out of the house in the sun, and then like the bruises are disappearing, and then she like comes down to April and she's like, I love you so much. Like, gets me every fucking time. It really does.
Yeah. Although, Connor, I do agree for the parents. I couldn't help but think, like, I feel like it's gonna be a long time before they have a normal day again.
Yeah.
Like being a little kid and have like, oh man, you look at your mom and like, I remember that time you tried to cut me up with scissors in the basement. That was a bad day for us.
That's a kid that will never be grounded.
Yeah.
He lets like shit or fuck like slip once, and the mom's like, "You're grounded." Hey,
remember that time you tried to
murder me with scissors?
Yeah.
You're right.
All right.
That kid's getting a free pass.
I get it. It's PTSD. It's fine.
Yeah. That's gonna take a while to get through. But then so they kind of banish Bathsheba forever. It seems like is the implication.
No, I don't think so. I think because what they said is that, well, we really don't know, but I think that they do end up probably having somebody come out to exorcise the house, because that was the whole thing that they needed to do. And I think what Ed did is he just exorcised Carolyn.
Well, when they get home, we do learn that apparently they had received approval to do an exorcism. So
I know the Vatican. The Vatican approved the exorcism. Yeah. So
I guess they unknowingly inherited the superpowers or whatever from Catholic God or the Pope or whomever. They inherited the power. So
Vatican.
the exorcism worked. And they bring that music box back, which I guess, yeah, there's something, because obviously at the end it starts playing a song and it opens. So I don't know, maybe the implication is like Bathsheba's been locked away in there or something like that. But they put it in their sort of sealed, blessed trophy room where it's apparently not going to be able to hurt people anymore as long as it stays in there.
I wonder why they picked the music box.
Yeah, I guess just kind of like, just kind of a device you see at the movie. It's inherently creepy, like all things in the trophy room.
That James Wan just thought of, like, what if it, like, I have this thing where, you know, it'd be really scary to see a music box playing this sweet music, and then it shuts, and you see something scary behind it.
Of course, and there's a fucking clown included in it, because everything creepy and scary always includes a fucking clown.
Yeah, it is very convenient that everything in their trophy room is already scary looking before you know a ghost is attached to it. Yeah. Like ghosts and demons just pick their brand. They're like, that's not scary. That's not scary. Oh, this is the monkey with the symbols. That's scary.
And that comes into play in the third Annabelle movie, which is basically like the equivalent to Captain America: Civil War, where it's like basically a Conjuring 2.5. Where Ed and Lorraine are a central character in it. Their daughter is a central character in it.
Yeah.
But it's an Annabelle movie, and you really get to spend time with all the shit locked away, and it's so scary. You get to spend time with the fucking monkey with the symbols. That shit.
We saw that movie in theaters. Yeah, we saw Annabelle in theaters, and Taylor wasn't scared at all.
I was scared.
But I was scared. And
I was scared too.
He said the only thing that scared him was when I screamed.
Yeah, the jump scare didn't get me, but the way she screamed and grabbed me made me go, fuck! Like
I saw it was weird. I think we were both scared. I don't know if she was, but I was scared.
Yeah. It kind of reminded me of like a Goosebumps Scooby-Doo movie almost, because of all the monsters coming.
Yeah, the entire that movie like only even gets to exist because of all the setup and like iconography of the series, where you're like, I know what The Conjuring is, I know what Annabelle is, so you just get to go, hey, what if we made a movie where everything in the Warrens trophy room went berserk for a night? And you're like, yeah, I get what that is. I'll go watch that. Like it's funny because kind of you mentioned Captain America: Civil War. That whole movie is like, hey, what if all the superheroes fought each other? Like, you only get to make that work if you like make the 20 movies prior. Whereas that movie only really works if you're like, I know what all this stuff is. Sure, I'll watch these guys. I'll watch all the shit.
I remember that from the first one. I remember that from the second one.
Yeah.
Like, I remember this. I remember that. Like,
Although there was something I noticed in the trophy room this time around, and I want to see his spinoff movie, which is a taxidermy toucan. You can see him.
I did not.
There's a taxidermy toucan bird by the door, like right when they walk in, and I was like,
I want to learn more about him.
Yeah.
What's his story?
Yeah, open that part of the book. Like, when's his spinoff? If they made the Curse of La Llorona,
a Conjuring universe movie.
Yeah, give me my toucan film. I don't know what he's doing.
I want to see the toucan film before the Crooked Man film.
Yeah, I do wonder if they're ever actually getting to Crooked Man, which
They were going to make Crooked Man before they made The Nun, and I remember being confused about that. I was like, The Nun was so scary. Why would you do Crooked Man?
So I actually like Crooked Man more than Nun in the movie because I just think it's a little more interesting. But I watched the second one again leading up to this, and it seemed like the implication was there really isn't a Crooked Man. It's just more Valak hijinks, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
It's just taking another form to like fuck with the kids even further. So it actually seems kind of like a weird choice to make a movie about it. I guess you can find any justification for doing it because it's the movies, but I almost don't need it now because I think
it's so far removed now.
Yeah,
from the public eye where it's like, might as well forget it. Let's see what comes out with the third one. Let's see what's scary about the third one.
Yeah,
what we can do with that.
And I think
there was a movie in
1970.
1970, there's a movie called There Was a Crooked Man.
Oh, really? There is also some direct-to-DVD knockoff that I noticed at a Redbox a few years ago called Crooked Man as well.
I never watched it, but I remember seeing that too.
The title is There Was a Crooked Man. It's 1970. It's a Western.
Oh, a crooked partner. I think they, again, to give them credit, I think they're learning from this. And you do got to remember, this is Warner Brothers, who also do make the DC movies. Matter of fact, Annabelle cameos in 2 of the DC movies, which to me means they're part of the same cinematic universe. But I think they've learned some lessons from this whole project where they're like, maybe less is more. And we don't have to rush this and put a movie out every single year, because they did the Curse of La Llorona. Oh, Jesus Christ. For audio listeners, there's a
crooked partner.
There's a crooked demon on the screen.
Demon.
Show yourself, Simon! Get out!
Well, Kirk Douglas starred in that movie.
There you go.
Oh, that makes sense.
Michael Douglas is dead. Yeah.
Oh, wait. I was thinking of Kirk Cameron.
Yeah, that's like the knockoff. Would be a Kirk Cameron movie. That'd be the knockoff of this. Kirk Cameron vanquishes the devil in premarital sex or whatever. But no, I think what they learned is less is more at these movies, because like Curse of La Llorona, not very good. I watched it yesterday for the first time, and they totally like hid the fact that it's a Conjuring movie and all the marketing and stuff. They kind of left it.
Yeah, because James Wan was like, I don't want this really being part of that.
Which it totally is. Like, they didn't cut it out of the movie at all.
No.
But, you know, they show Annabelle in it, so it's totally part of the universe. But, like, they totally kind of buried it and left it out on its own. I think they're probably wisely, because you mentioned it, Connor, and last Annabelle didn't do as well as they thought. La Llorona just wasn't a very good movie anyway. So I think they're probably taking the smart approach, like, let's ease off a little bit. Let's do a Conjuring.
Llorona made like 20 million opening weekend, and Annabelle 3 made like 30 or 40 million opening weekend. They still made a shit ton.
And I expect the new Conjuring will do whatever it means to do well in this movie release climate, because it's going to do the HBO theatrical.
Oh, you know, as soon as that trailer drops, I guarantee it's dropping on Sunday. I don't know how.
I'll be so mad.
Take me right now. It's dropping Sunday. Everybody is going to be waiting for that to hit HBO.
Yeah.
Everybody. I mean, people signed up for HBO for the little things.
Did they?
I saw a lot of people on my Facebook, people that don't normally watch movies like we do in this bubble. They watched it. They didn't like it, but they signed up for HBO to watch a Denzel, Jared Leto, Rami Malek movie.
Right. Yeah.
Like they signed up to watch that. And they probably kept it. They probably like found out there's so much on HBO Max, which there is. I love HBO Max. But they probably keep that, and you're getting a movie every month. Mm-hmm. And that's like their top advertisement is a movie every month.
Yeah.
Did you see Little Things, Connor?
Yeah, I really liked it. I gave it a 3 out of 5.
What do you give The Conjuring?
I gave it 4 out of 5.
Yeah. Easily a 4. Easily at the least 4-star movie, and super rewatchable. I loved it just as much. 4
Bathshebas out of 5.
How many Bathshebas do you got, Jessica?
4.5.
4.5.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Big move, big score.
It's a favorite of mine. I have to score it high.
Yeah, the movie's fantastic. I totally rewatchable. I love it. I even love the second one. I have high hopes for the third one, but obviously I am skeptical since James Wan isn't directing that one.
But he's very hands-on with the movies that he produces. So I would expect him to be, because he was very hands-on with The Nun. So I would expect him to be very hands-on with this one too.
I would certainly hope so, especially because it is a main line Conjuring. It's like there's just a distinction there for me, where it's there's just something more there. Those movies need to be kept. The spinoffs go and do their own things, but like the main line Conjuring movies just need to meet that quality bar. And then what's his name? Michael Chavez. That's it. He directed La Llorona, which is also why I'm like, oh man, because I didn't like that much.
There are good scares in La Llorona.
I couldn't get past 5 minutes of that movie.
There are good scares in that movie.
The first 5 minutes, I was like, fuck this. No.
I thought there were some redeeming qualities. I think he's good. He wrote on a bunch of the Conjuring universe movies. So, I mean, given something that is actually Conjuring, I think it'll turn out good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. In fairness, I don't necessarily know if there was anything wrong with the direction of La Llorona, so to speak, as much as it just the story's not as strong as those main movies.
He's the one that fought for the Conjuring connection to be put into the movie because he started out with the Conjuring universe.
Right.
He wrote and had like a bunch of stuff to do with the movies prior.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think being able...
Did you like remember that you wearing a cowboy hat and those sunglasses? Did it like reset for you?
I like looked away for a second and then looked up and I was like, oh my God.
Just let it happen.
This is, for anybody who doesn't know, which would I guess be most people, is whenever we end this show and we inevitably kind of sit in the stream there and talk for a while, it almost always ends with Connor at least putting those glasses on. and before the show, too.
I'm sorry, I'm having 9% beer. But yeah, I have high hope for the third one. I'm excited. I love this movie. I love this universe. Mm-hmm. It's shocking that WB can't take notes from what they've already done and put it into superheroes, but whatever. I like the movie. 4 Bathshebas out of 5.
4 Bathshebas. And to be fair, I just glanced at it to see. It's because again, I was saying La Llorona, like I don't know if it might have been a script thing. The third Conjuring is written by David Leslie Johnson. Oh, he's got a long name. David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, who wrote the second Conjuring, wrote Orphan, and is also wrote Aquaman 1 and apparently 2. So this is like a Juan guy. This is obviously somebody who's been in the seat this whole time. So I would hopefully the story will be up to par with the.
Oh, it has to be. It has to be. He did Orphan and the second Conjuring.
And it's got a true crime feel to it,
right? Mm. Which also super different. Which that's what they've been pushing. Like this is not just different for our series, but also just for this kind of movie. A haunted house possession movie meets like legal thriller true crime movie. Like that's just again the power of adapting. Real events, and I'm interested to see how they do it because we know because it is true story. A murderer pleads not guilty because he's possessed by a demon. We know that the jury did not go for that in the end and said you're guilty. So like I'll be interested to see like how they navigate that, what they add to the story, and are we going to see the Warrens fail or what's going to happen in the movie? I'm very intrigued by it, and part of that is because they've not really shown anything. And I will be I'll be so frustrated if they show a trailer after we finally did a fucking Conjuring episode. Because we could talk about that we could talk about that too. But yeah, no, this movie's great. These movies are great. I love The Conjuring. Is there anything we didn't touch on or want to say about it that we didn't get to already?
They're great movies. If you haven't watched them, you should watch them.
Yeah.
Or if you have watched them, go watch them again.
Yeah.
They're great. I'm especially excited now that I know that the guy that wrote the third one did the second and Orphan, because in both of those movies, there were huge twists in them, which makes me think that maybe there's going to be another twist in this one just because it unraveled in real life a certain way doesn't mean that they're going to write the movie that way. They may write it in a different direction than how it actually ended in real life, because that's what they did in the Conjuring movies, is that this stuff didn't actually happen in real life, or Ed and Lorraine failed. I can't remember if it was the first one with Bathsheba or if I think it was Bathsheba. It didn't actually end that way in real life. They actually did fail with getting things the way it needed to be in that house. So it could end differently, but I'm super excited now.
Are you excited for The Orphan 2?
No.
Orphaner?
I am Morphin.
Morphin.
Orphan.
I'm interested how they're going to pull it off, but I think the first Orphan kind of rules, which also has Vera Farmiga in it. She's really good in that one too. I wonder if she'll come back for Morphan. I don't know. That first Orphan's pretty damn good, actually. Pretty creepy. So
I haven't watched it in a while, but I remember being lukewarm about it. But I'll watch it again.
You are very hard to take as like offering your critic opinion when you're dressed like that. Oh fuck! Oh man!
I can't.
Oh man! All right.
Oh god!
Hey,
it's the eyes. It's the eyes.
It's the eyes. Oh my god!
But no, it's great. I'm so glad that you guys let me come on the show and talk about this movie because I love it so much, and I can't wait to come back when the third one comes out and we can review the second one before the third one.
Yes, because this is something me and Taylor have been talking about. We will be doing special episodes throughout the months for horror movies that are coming out. Yeah. So make sure you pay attention to the Reely Scared Instagram and the Who Are They movie reels Twitter for our Reely Scared reviews, because we will have some coming out. Because there's a ton coming out. Conjuring 3, Wally's Wonderland is coming out with Nicolas Cage, which I know we have to do a review on. We're going to be talking about that for probably as long as this episode. The book of Spiral, the book of Saw. We got a ton of stuff coming out. So definitely pay attention to anything Really Scared, because we got stuff coming.
And I'm so glad you mentioned stuff coming up, because next week we'll be right back on this channel, 8 p.m. EST. We'll be talking about, of course, this is going to be a big one, Midsommar.
Oh my god.
We're going to be joined again by friends of the show, Twitch streamer Kayla Marie T. Can't wait to have her back, as well as photographer and artist Paige Farrow, who's not been out in a very long time as well. Ari Aster's Midsommar, man, that's a big one to step up to.
Yeah, this is a very divisive film, so I swear to God, if we don't have a lot of people in the comments in the chat talking about this, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is a movie everybody loves to talk about.
Bring the discourse.
I love this movie.
Midsommar's next week. That's streaming right now on Prime and is available in VOD everywhere. And then don't forget, the following week, we've got Plan 9 from Outer Space. I think I also didn't change this graphic, right? This is in the, because it still says the 7th, which it is not today.
Yeah.
But the 18th is correct. Plan 9 from Outer Space. We're joined by horror hosts, The Mummy and the Monkey, Cleveland's own hosts of the Harry Scary Hangout. That's going to be awesome. The Ed Wood film, again, on Prime, Tubi, and YouTube. And then the 25th, we'll actually have a live. Well, maybe be live. We'll see. We're working on some things, but we'll be having our episode about Saint Maud, which is a new release film we are very excited about. 25th will be Saint Maud. But next week's Midsommar with Kayla and Paige, going to be a blast. So get ready. Are you like me, where there's like a sense of like, oh fuck, I gotta sit down and watch Midsommar. Here we go again. You know, like
I literally watched it like a month ago.
Oh my god, I've only seen it one time and I like it a lot, but it's an endeavor. So like I gotta like bring a lot. I gotta get in the headspace to be like, I'm gonna watch Midsommar.
Yeah, I've watched this movie I think 3 times. So watching it a 4th time is definitely very daunting, but I can't wait.
You're a maniac. Jessika, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for coming back. It's been an absolute blast.
Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. Thank you for bringing The Conjuring to us. This was so fun to talk about. I just loved how much there was to talk about, both on the filmmaking end, the story end, and just kind of the real life and what we could kind of pull out of this movie. It was really, really fucking awesome one to talk about. So thank you for joining us. Is anything you'd like to promote, plug? Where can the ghouls and goblins find you? Anything like that?
Yeah, sure. Don't forget to get your Wretched apparel.
Nice.
Off of Wretched Apparel, and make sure you use your Reely Scared promo code for your 10% off.
Very nice.
I got Christmas gifts for my parents and my lovely boyfriend, and so it's not just for you, it's for your loved ones and friends, because they've got hoodies, they've got t-shirts, and they also have long sleeve shirts. So you should check them out. They're great. They're really good people too. So if you have a problem, all you got to do is message them on Instagram and they'll get right on it. And then check out Movie Trivia Schmodown. There's this D-bag called Rick Radis, the Rager on it. He's quite a character.
I heard he just got drafted to the Finstock Exchange or something like that.
He did. Yeah. He's a character. He's a fucking character, I have to say. But that's literally all I watch on YouTube now is movie trivia schmodown clips and videos. So it's a lot of fun.
Perfect. I love you. Thank you so much for joining us, Jessika. It's been a thrill. Thank you to those who watched live or listen after the fact. We appreciate you so much. Again, remember, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow, whatever it is. Leave a little cutie in the reviews. We appreciate that, and we appreciate you. We'll see you next week for Midsommar with Kayla and Paige. Y'all have a good night. Stay spooky. a little howdy there from the Top Goblin.